If we compare governance then to management, governance starts with a strategic overview. What is our long-term view? Where is the organization going to be in 2 or 3 years? What is the direction in which we want to go? It could well be that the company has had one primary product that has been its main source of revenue and activity, but that is reaching end of life. It's time to move into something else. And this is where we have to understand that we need to be flexible, and what we did in the past may not be the solution for the future. I could get a post or sign beside the road that says, "Our company used to live here." We are merely a memory instead of being one of the leaders, and that's where we need direction. We need to understand how the world changes so that at a strategic level, we're ready for those changes and we're flexible. Governance is also oversight. It's not enough to tell somebody to do something and then not follow up. But proper oversight means active involvement and the reporting, the knowledge, the feedback to ensure that when little corrections need to be made, they can be identified and the actions taken to address those areas. A very important part of this, of course, is compliance. We need to be able to comply with various things. And of course, we right away think of laws. We have to be compliant with privacy law. And that's important. But also, we have to be compliant with the service level agreements, our contractual obligations. We have to be compliant with the expectations of our community and of our customers. What do they expect from us as part of a good corporate citizen? And so compliance is much more complex than just indicating that we have a check mark in an audit box that says we met this standard or we met this legal obligation or requirement. That's where the idea here as well, that governance goes far beyond just a mandated legal requirement, but what are the ethos of the company itself? What is the way our company wants to be perceived by its stakeholders? When it comes to management, management is responsible for the implementation of the direction provided by governance. This means they use the resources of the organization effectively. Money, time, people, supply chain. So we're able to utilize resources in a way to maximize the benefit for the organization. Whereas we can say the board of directors looks at the high-level strategic view, it's management that then has to take that and implement that into practical steps. They are the ones that take the actions to implement the ideals of governance, and also they are the ones that are responsible for ensuring the correct performance, the correct return from the investment that's made in the organization. So to review, what are some of the common elements of governance? Governance is best if it's an enterprise-wide approach, something which is consistent across all the departments and processes of the organization. Now, we realize this is impossible in a very large, varied organization that has different lines of business. But the idea of having an enterprise-wide structure that puts in place our attitude towards risk, our attitude towards investment, our attitude towards how do we deal with competitors and how do we deal with employees, as well as our various supply chains, should be something that is an enterprise-wide perspective whenever possible. We should also have a consistent way to manage risk. Now, risk is essential. We need risk in order to grow. Greater risk often can mean greater rewards, but obviously can mean greater loss. So we need to be able to manage and understand what risk is as well in a corporate way. And the challenge can be that some departments are very risk adverse. Oh, don't take that risk. Other departments are very risk acceptance and very risk tolerant. And so we need to manage things so they're managed consistently, and we don't have one department puts the rest of the organization at risk by having a different risk attitude. We also have to look at the culture of the company. And this is important. There's not to say that there's any one ideal culture. Some organizations are very much based on Taylorism and the idea of I have management that makes decisions and employees that do what they need to do, following process, and many companies have done very well in that. I turn around and I develop a consistent approach that leads to a quality product with a minimum level of problems, or should we say defects. And that type of a culture works very well in some industries. Other industries are very much about, well, try this, try that. Be innovative, creative. Don't follow just a fixed set of rules and guidelines. But this is where we have to understand what is the culture. We have to understand so that we can ensure that our staff knows, are they able to take risk? One organization I worked for very much emphasized, if you're not making mistakes, you're not growing. If you make a mistake, fail forward. So learn from that and move ahead. Other organizations I've worked for were, if you make a mistake, you're to blame and there's a problem. That's a different culture. And it's, for all of us, we have to understand what is the culture of our organization. Now, we know, and as we'll see later on in this course, a lot of culture starts with top management. So therefore, that culture can change when management changes as well. And we need reporting so that we know that each level of the organization, whether it's the board of directors or senior management, middle management, our users and employees, and of course, our customers. They know what our organizational mission, vision are, and that is consistently applied through the organizations. It should be that every employee knows this is our mission, this is our vision, and they can see how the work they do works towards that mission or vision. If it's such that the employee looks at the mission and says, that's not at all how we're told to work, then we have a problem. We have a problem that governance is not effective. And we have a disconnect between the two different levels of management and employees that will lead to problems and contention.